Right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure to introduce today's session, which is essentially going to be a presentation by the artist Mehdi Ghadyanloo from Iran. The title of today's session is Public Art, Spaces of Hope. And that title is taken from the name of the mural behind me, which was painted by Mehdi in Boston, Massachusetts, as part of a commission from the city government in the United States late last year. It's 5,230 square feet. And it's one of the artistic symbols in the city of Boston of, I think, what was until the end of last year an increasingly blossoming relationship between the United States and Iran. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later, about the extent to which that relationship has now become a little bit more strained, and how much art like the murals that Mehdi has painted in cities around the world speaks to some of those tensions. So Mehdi is particularly famous for painting 100 murals around the city of Tehran as part of a commission with the city government there intended to beautify the spaces in the city. And these murals utilize a technique called tremplé, which makes them look from a distance three-dimensional and have had the effect of beautifying what was a gray city trying to come out of the backlash of civil war, of division, of oppression, and of a difficult history. And in that respect, Mehdi and I have something in common. I am from South Africa. My name is Lindiwe Mazibuko. I'm the former opposition leader in the South African Parliament. And like Mehdi, I grew up in a society that was characterized during the state of emergency by militarization, a police state, oppression, division, and has subsequently had to wrestle with moving those public spaces from spaces of oppression and difficulty and suppression to spaces of hope and openness and triumph. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Mehdi. What he's going to do is give you a presentation about some of his work, hopefully both his mural work and his canvas work. After he's given his presentation, he will hand back to me, hopefully, and we will have a discussion here on stage, before which we'll hand over to you to get a couple of inputs and have what will hopefully be a lively Q&A. So ladies and gentlemen, Mehdi Ghadyanloo.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Can you start? How many people smiled today in this city? How many people wore colorful clothes today in my city? Why my city is so sad? What can I do for my city? What if there were some happy spots in my city while I'm coming back to home from work? What can I do for my gray city? What is my job? What is my task to do for this gray city that already has 5,000 blank, gray, empty walls? How can I give this city back the beautiful skyline that once possessed? How can I give the harmony back to this city? This is the city of Bam in Kerman that destroyed almost completely in the earthquake about 12 years ago. It has harmony, it has perfect urban plan designing. How can I give back these kind of lovely colors back to my city and cityscapes? Following World War II, many cities, especially from third world countries, became victims of rapid westernization in the Middle East. Tehran is one of them. A very famous architect who was famous because of gigantic shopping malls. He designed it for buildings and cities in America, proposed the design for Tehran and called Tehran an ideal city to become an automobile society. But what we have nowadays in Tehran, you can see the city is very polluted. There's no harmony. There's no green public space in Tehran. What can I do for this monster-like city as an artist? I am not president, nor a mayor. I am artist. What can I do? How can I bring back color, joy, and hope to this city? The city that now has no space for pedestrians and even not for cars. Here's my first mural for Tehran. I did 12 years ago this project. I brought the blue sky that were absent in the city. You can see the empty black wall is very ugly and depressing in the city. And I decided to paint these green, beautiful public spaces that once animated every corner of Tehran. I decided to paint happy people looking over the city. And here is the picture from another angle, and you can see how this mural interacts with people in the middle of Tehran. This is Vanak Square, one of the most busiest squares in Tehran. And I was thinking, if I can make my city more beautiful, it can be less crime, less unhappy incidents near my walls. This is the detail of the mural. Here you can see another empty, ugly, gray building. And this is my plan to give hope and energy to this city. People love these murals because these murals are talking about their interests. Because I'm originally from Tehran, so I lived in this city for many years, and I'm using bus, I'm using public transportation. I know what's the problem in the city and what people are thinking about the city. This is the completed project. I tried to use blue skies as a therapy because of two reasons. First, sky is beautiful also. There's no more blue sky in Tehran nowadays. And the second one, because of the psychological impact of blue color on people's nerve and people's life, because in a country under sanctions and after a couple of things like revolution, war, they have lots of problems in Tehran, also because of mismanagement. So I decided to give more beauty to my city, Tehran. Here you can see another project of mine. I decided to beautify these buildings by using the elements from the architecture of these buildings to create harmony instead of creating something irrelevant to the city. Oh. Here's another view of the wall. While I was doing these projects, my statement was this: if I can take 10 seconds of everyone's life in Tehran and interrupt these people who they are thinking about their problems to not think about their problems and see something beautiful, I could save millions of seconds of people's lives. Here is the detail of that mural. And even now, it's smaller than the real size of the mural. This one was the first wall I decided to do a mural on it. And I was thinking that why my city is so ugly. This is my design. This is me on the project. And I decided to push back these walls and have more blue sky in my city as a personal, subtle activism against mass construction in Tehran. In a city like Tehran, that nowadays, even it's worse because of lots of big skyscrapers in the west of Tehran is built, and they are blocking the wind, so we have more polluted days in Tehran. Here's the detail of this mural. I tried to use elements from the city, the reflection of the mosque in the windows, some people to give more energy and more life to these kind of paintings. I painted more than 100 murals in Tehran with the help of my friends and my classmates. I designed all of them. And one day, I think it was 2010, after 6 years of painting these murals, I felt exhausted because I did lots of projects. And while I'm working on my mural projects and public art projects in Tehran, I'm usually overthinking about problems and what I can do for people, and I'm always worried about the consequences of my image on people's mood. So it's quite challenging for me, painting and working in the cityscape. I decided to come back to my studio and do my personal projects. My canvases are a little, different completely different conceptually, because they are my personal projects. I'm not worried about people. I don't worry about their mood. But my projects and murals in Tehran were almost happy to work like a painkiller in Tehran. While I couldn't change the city completely, I tried to give a painkiller pain to city instead of, do a permanent cure that it was not possible. While I was working on my project, while I was doing exhibitions in different countries, I received a call from Boston. They asked me to paint a mural on this wall, and this was very important project for the mayor of Boston also. This is the most important wall in Boston, right to the South Station in Boston, and they asked artists from all over the world to do projects on this wall every year, and they chose me for 2016. Despite the height of this wall, that it's about 35 meters height, it seems very tiny among these big skyscrapers that mushroomed around this wall during the past 2 decades. The shape of the dome on top of the building gave me this opportunity to think about our historical buildings all over the country in Iran, especially mosques and buildings from Yazd. Also, I was thinking about oculus in the Pantheon. I liked how light and darkness playing in this architecture. And also the light and dark in this building gave me this idea to think about dark side of politics between Iran and America. I was thinking about how can I give hope to the world. In the same time, there were refugee crises everywhere in the Middle East, also in Europe. People who left their countries in the search of spaces of hope, in the search of future. also in the America, people were worried about their future. It was the right time that I was thinking about what can I do to give hope and peace to this city. Especially lots of immigrants were worried about their future, their children's future. Also because of Boston had very hard times during a Boston Marathon bombing, I was thinking that Boston needs heal from this tragic memory. As a man from Middle East, I wanted to grant them a gift. I wanted to tell them that not everyone from Middle East wants to harm you, despite what media says about East and my country, and despite political divide between Iran and America. I wanted to give them a present, a hope, a symbol of hope. And while I was thinking about how can I manage to, pack all my ideas in a single design, I remembered the French movie, The Red Balloon. This movie was talking about hope in European cities after World War II. And I found the balloon, the symbol of balloon, very successful in this movie, and it became my inspiration. I asked my family and friends to pose for me in a couple of photographs. And one day, as I was working in my studio, I came to this idea. This is me painting the mural. The day that I painted this balloon, people started to love this painting. And I had lots of positive comments on my social media that people liked this balloon. And I was happy that I was successful in communicate with people through my art and give them hope. This is the main view of the wall. I just gave everyone one balloon as a symbol. And here you can see how this mural interacts with people, pedestrians, and people in queues. And these pictures sent by people directly to my social media and shows how people interact with this mural, and they are connected with this mural. Lots of workers around downtown Boston having lunch every day next to this mural. And I said people love this mural. Let me leave you with this comment, that it was the biggest gift for me. The comment was this: my father has Alzheimer's. Every time I walk by this, I will be hopeful that the cure is found so we can eliminate this terrible disease. It was my share to beautify my world and my city. And let's think about how we as individuals can help to improve life quality on our planet. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mehdi. Yeah, please stay on the stage. If you could scroll back to the sort of people of Boston interacting with your mural.
Yeah.
I was very interested in something you said about a sense of responsibility that you feel you have to the people of Tehran. And it seems like you adopted that responsibility for the people of Boston to add a little bit of hope, to add a little bit of blue sky to their daily grind. And as we think about the refugee crisis, the extent to which people are coming from war-torn and conflict-riddled parts of the world into cities as spaces of hope, and then finding those spaces to be gray and dreary and disappointing, you have an interesting role that you've assigned yourself, a kind of social responsibility. And I was wondering if you could share a little bit more about how you deal with that responsibility, why you believe it's your responsibility, and what a little bit about the interplay between the hope that cities represent for economic success and prosperity, while the environment itself lends itself to grayness and disappointment?
Okay. I mean, we have different styles in public art and street art and, you know, making sculptures for cities, but I'm the big fan of being responsible for people while you are doing these kind of projects, because you're not painting your canvas and you are forcing people to look at my mural, you know. You should have something positive on your mural. You can't have a dark image in the city conceptually that says that life is not beautiful. You need to beautify these cities because already routine life is boring in cities. Every day you go to work, you have your own personal, aims and goals, but this routinism makes you tired and exhausted, so you can add some more energy to the city. And art is perfect to do this kind of things, and it can work very fast. There's no need to planning for 10 years and building big structure. You can paint your idea in less than a week and change the balance of gray and color and hope in your city.
Now, you were telling us earlier about how on your journey to Boston, you were actually refused visa to enter the United States.
It was paradoxical, yeah.
For reasons you may or may not want to go into. And that was prior to the Trump administration assuming power. So now we find ourselves in a position where today the Supreme Court in the United States has ruled that people from Iran, from your home country, can no longer come to the United States either by applying for visas if they don't have family ties, or by coming in as refugees. I wonder if you could reflect a little bit about the sort of shifting relationship between the Middle East and the United States, but also about the extent to which we think about the Middle East as a place of hopelessness where people need interventions like these from you. But in fact, in the United States, there's also a deep upheaval, dissatisfaction, concern about the future. What are the parallels that you see in terms of hopelessness in your home country and hopelessness in the country that you've tried to build these friendship ties with in order to improve the relationship between the two?
Thank you. It's a nice question because we all know the important role of America in our planet. Before election, even we in our country were worried about the result of election in America because it had some direct effects on our lives. For example, sanctions had very bad, cruel impact on everyone's life. I had lots of my friends from rural areas called me because they couldn't find medicine in the city, in their area because of the sanctions. So I can say because of their decisions are very important on life quality, unfortunately everywhere. We were also worried about this election, and I felt that I'm doing this project in my own country. Ignoring the boundaries that we have between us. We are all human. We are all thinking about hope. We have families. And when you're working for people, it's very easy to communicate with people, in my opinion, because you are talking with the mutual language of emotions. And yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to open up the floor. If any of you have any questions that you'd like to pose to Mehdi, a couple of interventions, you're welcome to do so. Just please raise your hand. I'll start with you, sir, on the left.
Thanks. Very impressive. And I'm very happy to see your effort and also the results. I have two questions. One has to do perhaps with the theme that you choose, and you repeatedly use the words beautifying. And it appears that you try to reflect the good side of human life. Is that the direction that you, as an artist, you want to go, or you are thinking of picking other themes in your art as well? So that's more of how do I say, more theoretical question. The second question is more technical, which is when you decide to, say, for example, in Boston, to depict this, you must have done research, and are you thinking about how to harmonize your painting with the surroundings and in terms of choosing lines and structures and color?
Thank you. Nice questions. First question, I should say that it's my statement and manifest to beautify cities and create my utopian landscape that they are not exist in real life. I mean, I know that I'm optimist while I'm working on cityscape, but I think that we all know our problems and concerns, so let's ignore these problems for a couple of seconds with art. It was my proposal. For the second question, it's usually very important for me to be in the space and see the site before I start my projects. I was there 6 months before the project, and in a very traditional, personal style, I started to run around this wall and talk to this wall. And I found this kind of perspective creating style very interesting, because mostly people stand here, as you can see, and I adjusted the focal point of the perspective exactly same to the people around the wall. And also, from technical perspective, I'm using more technology and digital arts to create the designs, like creating 3D space before I paint the mural on the wall.
Right, we are starting to lose people as the session has come to an end. If there's one more burning question, I'd love to take it. Otherwise, yes, let's take one more question, and then we'll move to close the session.
Can you hear me?
No. Yeah.
It's on?
Yeah.
Okay. I think your paintings are beautiful. Thank you so much, and especially in the context of the U.S. I think, as somebody who is a U.S. citizen, I think there is a feeling of hopelessness, and I live in Boston right now, so this is beautiful. One question I had was, I noticed there's some people who are in the dark and some people who are in the light, and they're all, going up these set of stairs. Could you explain the symbolism behind why you chose that specific image?
Because the stairs and ladders, I use lots of stairs and ladders on my personal works, but I usually don't paint figures on them. My works in my studio are conceptually different from these, but the visual language is same. I use usually this kind of architectural elements in my paintings because of my interest in minimal architecture and, for example, works of Tadao Ando, Le Corbusier, it's my personal interest. So I decided to use the stairs, and especially spiral stairs here, and also the light coming up from the oculus in the dome because of symbolic impact of the light that coming into a darkness. And it can be also hope. Even if there's no balloon, there's also hope because of the light and the oculus to escape from bad conditions if you experience this.
Fantastic. Well, Mehdi, I want to thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. Some food for thought as we think about inclusive growth, the fourth industrial revolution, and creating spaces of hope that facilitate both those things. Thank you very much.
Thank you.